Good afternoon and welcome to the latest in my series of conversations. I've always been interested, as part of my personal and professional development, in the benefits that come about when we challenge ourselves or come out of our comfort zone. From this interest, my business Noodle was born. I get a great sense of pride seeing how people grow and develop when they challenge themselves to something they have never tried before or thought they could do. I've been developing this series of conversations to help people in their working lives, and particularly leadership roles, to see how they can stretch their horizons and become more resilient. Never was there a time that tested our resilience more than with COVID-19, I'm sure we can agree. I've been delivering a series of discussions and webinars with people I admire for the skills and techniques they use in their everyday lives to challenge themselves or become more resilient. I'm particularly interested at the moment to hear from females who have overcome challenges. And today I'll be talking to Maria Pikulski. I first met Maria during my time at Blind Veterans UK. Maria lost her sight in 2003 as the result of a genetic condition called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. But despite the obvious hurdles she has faced, Maria is an incredibly resilient and driven person. Today I'll be talking to her about her backstory and what has kept her motivated to lead not just a normal life, but one filled with challenge and adventure. So welcome, Maria. How are you this afternoon?
I'm all right, thank you very much.
Lovely weather where you are. Tell us where you are at the moment.
In Leyland, Lancashire, and the weather is supposed to be about 30 degrees today.
Wow.
I don't think it's been hot like that since 76, I don't think.
Wow. I don't know what's going on with the weather. We've had weeks of rain and then it just all goes sort of crazily hot, but we can't complain, can we?
No.
So I just wanted to kick things off by sort of setting the scene. If I can ask for a background to you, Maria, can you tell us a bit about your background, a bit about your military service and the types of activities you enjoyed?
I joined the regular army in 1980, but that as a supply specialist. I did my basic training, then I went for my trade training, but I'd met a man and then you had to leave because you couldn't stay in if you wanted to get married.
Oh.
Things have changed now. Then I had about a year to come back and I was enjoying myself too much. I didn't go back in. And because I was 21 and you know, it was like you live life to the full. Then I probably wouldn't have come out if my mum was still alive, but Dad was very disappointed about me coming out. Then I joined the Territorial Army and I did lots of things in the Territorial Army. HGV Class 1 driver. I did a bit the chefing courses, B1, B2, B3, and I was tops in all of them. And I also did all the clerical courses, all the stores courses, because I got bored quite easy.
Great. So then, obviously you're living life to the full. So tell us then sort of what happened and what your memories were about when you first started to lose your sight and what feelings that brought up in you and what were your biggest fears?
I think the biggest fears, I just thought my life was over and how I was going to cope and was I going to go totally blind? And it was like, oh my God, it's like because I was nursing and everything changed overnight. And I was very down, very depressed, very suicidal, didn't want to be here and ready to put my flight to Digitaz at that time.
Oh goodness! So how did it manifest itself? What sort of how did it the sort of sight loss sort of happen?
In the February 2003, a patient that was nursing, I remember her name Megan, and she shouted. She was in a side room and she shouted, "Nurse, I want a word with you right now." So she was quite abrupt, and I thought, "Oh my God, I've upset her." So I said, "I'm just in the middle of something, but I'll be with you in a minute." So I went into her room and she said, "Sit down on my bed." So I did, because I thought I'd upset her and she wanted to, talk to me. She got hold of my hands and she said, "I've been watching you all week." And she said, "You've been looking after me all week. And I've noticed you're struggling with the charts, with doing a BMs and everything. And she said, go and get your eyes tested. So I was on a late on the Friday and a late on the Saturday. So I begged Boots Opticians to do an eye test urgently. They found I still had I've always had like 20/20 vision, and I still had 20/20 vision in my left eye, but it gone in the other eye. And they gave me a form to send me straight to A&E, which I did do, but I'd booked in, and I gave them the ward number and said, can you ring when you're ready for me, because we're really busy. Then I went down and they thought it was a tumour. Then they sent me to the emergency clinic at Preston on the Sunday, and then to see the consultant on the Monday. And he just said it could be a tumour, stroke on the optic nerve, optical neuritis, and different things it was. Papilledema, which is a tumour. And he says, I need to send you for MRI scans and everything. So we waited for that. All the tests that I went through were coming back as normal. And then on the 28th of July 2003, I was driving to work on a night duty, and I was really struggling. But in the morning, I thought I was okay. And noticed, I went to Tesco shopping, and I noticed with the lights and everything that things were wrong. And it had gone in the other eye then. And I always classed my left eye as my dominant eye, but it was quite frightening. And they had to do a DNA test, which was the last test. And on the 14th of August, found out I had this thing called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. But the consultant wasn't very understanding. He just says, I've got good news, I've got bad news. The bad news, it's Leber's, can't do anything about it, thank you and good night. And it was like you were sort of stuck, nobody to talk to. Where do I go? What do I do? Where do I get help from? There was nobody like me there in the eye clinic to give me some guidance.
That's hard to believe, isn't it? I mean, I understand it's a very rare condition, isn't it? And I don't think it manifests itself even so much in women either. Is that right?
Yeah, females are really the carriers and passes it to the sons, and males usually get it the late teens, early 20s. Well, I was 42 when it all happened to me, and it was very unusual because I'm a female, and they don't know why.
So, what kind of sight do you have, or how do things appear for you?
It's like your world's a blur, and it's like, say you're looking out your bathroom window and you're seeing shapes on the other side.
Wow.
That's what it's like. You see, it's like at work. I can tell some of the nurses because go by maybe the shape, the hair colour. If they change the hair to a lighter colour, it throws me. So you do it by voices, or if you know somebody. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's amazing, and I can hear when you're talking about it that the very fact you can remember to the day and the dates of all those appointments and when things happen, that it's obviously something that's, you know, as you'd imagine, embedded in your memory. So I want to talk a little bit about challenge, and that's something that sort of goes without saying. I mean, what did you find were your biggest daily challenges, and how did you approach them? Was it a process of like setting yourself a series of small goals?
Oh, it was difficult. I think I went into a bit of depression at first because I didn't want the help. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to admit I have a sight problem. I didn't want to admit that work was writing me off. And that was the biggest fight I had. For 4.5 years, I fought to try and keep my job. The biggest challenge was going to the shop, walking to the doctors. One time I was walking to the doctors, it was really icy, and I think I fell about 8 times on the way there. And the doctor wouldn't release me from the surgery until I'd calmed down, because I said, I don't want to be like this. Might as well just call it a day. And it was so funny. I can laugh about it now because just walking down the road is was a big challenge. Going in a shop was a challenge. Asking people for help was a challenge. Um, I didn't want to admit that I couldn't do. You know,
Right. Yeah, yeah, I can understand that. There's obviously been a bit of a turning point. I think we'll come on to it later as well,
yeah,
because that's taken you from, where you were there to, I know that actually looking at your bio, you've certainly lived life to the full. Were you always someone who liked to challenge themselves, or is it something that losing your sight brought out on you? If you can tell us a little bit about some of the challenges you've undertaken as well.
So, there's challenges. My first challenge, it was so funny because one of the well, it was St Dunstan's at the time, said to me, "Why don't you come skiing?" I said, "I've never gone skiing in my life." And she says, "Come, we'll have fun." Well, I was a lot heavier then, and it was a good time, but it was hard because being big was hard. And then all of a sudden, the year after, I went back and decided to lose weight, and I joined Weight Watchers, and I decided, right, I'm gonna do it. Well, I went from a size 22 down to a size 10,
Wow.
and I felt a lot healthier. And then I thought, right, because I've lost this weight, I'm going to do a parachute jump for the charity. So I did a parachute jump and I loved it. And then I said to my friend, I says, "Do you know what?" I says, "I've never been a runner, but I want to do the London Marathon." And she says, "Yeah, yeah, no problem. I'll be a guide." She thought she's not going to get a place. And then I went to her and I said, "Oh, do you still mean you'll be all right being my guide for the London Marathon?" She says, "Why, have you got a place?" I said, "Yeah." And she went, "Oh no." So it was so funny. And we did the London Marathon, and I was at my fittest that I've ever been. And I'd love to tell one of my RSMs that used to say, if I had music in my ears, I'd pass a BFT. But I'd love to tell him I did the London Marathon without music in my ears.
Absolutely. Good for
Yeah.
you. And understand, I mean, so much of this is sort of mental mindset as well, isn't it? And I know that you did one of the events I actually set up for St Dunstan's, as it was, or Blind Veterans, the 100K, London to
Oh,
Brighton walk, didn't you?
yeah, we did. I did three of them actually. And the first one, you thought, "Oh, there's no way I'm going to do this again." It was a good challenge. And my husband, Richard, which he what that when the first challenge happened, he wasn't my husband. But I said to him, "Do you want to be my guide?" And he said, "Yeah." We were shattered at the end. We wore combat trousers, which held all the sweat. So you were so sore everywhere. So we did that, and then the second year, I think it was the second year where I had to bail out at 50 because my blood pressure went. We were on a roll as well. We were doing 3 to 4 miles an hour, and then I took ill with my blood pressure. So we managed 50, and then the third year we just did it again. So it was
Wow.
having a good challenge. It was a good challenge that.
I think, I mean, I know that a lot of people that wouldn't undertake that, it's such a mentally difficult thing as well as physically difficult to
Yeah.
walk. Just for people who don't know the challenge, it's walking 100 kilometers all at once through the day and the night, non-stop. And you say yeah, it sorts out the men from the boys, as they say.
Definitely. So that was a very good challenge.
Brilliant. Well done. My God. Not once, but 3 times. Most people wouldn't come back after one, let me tell
Yeah,
you.
I didn't think I was going to go back after one. So
So, I mean, I often speak about how challenge can make us stronger. Does this ring true with you? And what example would you give?
yeah, it helps me having a yearly challenge, something to aim for, something to keep your mind going, something that will help you be focused. And it did. The challenges I did do just was something to aim for, and it felt like that you achieve something each year.
Yeah. I can understand that. I think I'm quite goal driven. It's good to have that something to aim for.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, with all of you choose to do these challenges, but obviously you've had to overcome the challenges that are put upon you as well, and how you've navigated them is quite inspirational. I want to talk a little bit about resilience. I'm sure that's something you have in spades. I mean, I understand you were also latterly diagnosed with MS. This
Yeah.
must be like doubly hard to accept, and shows true resilience to cope with this second challenge. And how did you cope with this, and how did it manifest itself?
Well, it was when I didn't expect it, because it was my doctor, my GP, and I kept having a couple of blackouts. Oh, sorry. Kept having a couple of blackouts, and she sent me for an MRI scan in the December, but we never got the results. And in the June, we decided to. Oh no, in the June, I got an appointment to go to to see the neurologist consultant, and we were having a laugh, me and Richard, in the waiting area, because Richard put on Facebook, "Oh, we're at the hospital, but I don't think she's got a brain really, so they're not going to find much." So we were laughing, and the consultant said, "Oh, I take it you've spoken to your GP," and I went, "No, I've come to see, get the all clear and discharged." And he got it up on the screen, and he made it quite big for me to make out. And he said, "You've got MS." And I was like, really shocked, because I was going to go in the hospital. They had a nail bar and hairdressers. I was going to go and have a bit of pamper. We went home, had fish chips, mushy peas, and a bottle of wine.
Oh no! And how has that impacted on you? The MS, how's that affected the sort of compounding thing?
The first 2 years was fine, because it was 4 years ago now. So the first 2 years were great. I managed carried on doing my walking, and everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, it started. We went on a holiday on one of Richard's army reunions to Gibraltar, and we'd been up. We hadn't had much sleep. We'd been up all night, up all day, and we dumped our bags in the room, went out, and one of his friends went back to the hotel with his wife, and we were with a couple that we didn't know. And all of a sudden, I didn't fall. My leg just went on me, my right leg. And the girl said to me, she said, oh my God, did you see your leg? Did you see your leg? And it was like, it had turned into a rubber leg. And Richard had to get me up a couple of times. And I think I was overtired. So that was the first sign. And then after that, I had a challenge last year. And I said to Richard, I want to go up one of the hills that's near the caravan. And we did Whernside. So I managed to get to the top, not a problem. Coming down, the amount of times my leg went on me, it was hard work. And on one point, I just said to Richard, "Oh, just leave me. I'll meet you back at the pub." Well, I think we had a domestic. You know what I mean? Because he said, "Don't be so stupid. I'm not leaving you." And it took a long while to get back, because 2 years before we went up, over, and walked to Dwingleton. So we did about 12 miles. And this time we went up, down the same way, and it took us about 8 hours. It was a long time. So it's impacted on the walking, but what we've done, we've swapped the walking for tandem riding.
Ah, great.
So we found and spin classes, of course. So we found a different way of doing things.
Wow, that's kudos to you. That's amazing. And that brings me on to sort of motivation, actually, because, you know, a lot of people might think, oh, you know, so maybe someone's trying to tell me something, I need to slow down or stop doing so much. But what's your motivation to sort of think, well, no, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to do something else?
No, motivation is don't let it beat me. It's because, oh, I remember in my job, my first patient was an old lady, and she said to me, "Have you ever heard of this saying, love?" And I went, "What saying?" And she said, "Right, I'm going to tell you something, and you think about it." And the saying is, "Yesterday's history, tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift, that's why they call it present." So you live for today. Do not think of what happened in the past. Forget about it. You can't change it. Don't worry about the future because we don't know what is happening. Just live for today. And that's my motivation. And also, it's in my job, it's helping the patients as well.
And I wanted to come on to that because people won't necessarily know that you've been working as an eye clinic liaison officer, ECLO for short, since
Yep.
2009. And that must be a very poignant role for you. And is it something you would have imagined doing if it hadn't been for your own sight loss?
No, I wouldn't even, if the job came up, I don't think I would have thought about going for it because I enjoyed doing the nursing. And to be honest, I didn't apply for the job. I'm in a job, I didn't apply for it. And it was just the day of the close, they were closing it. And my work colleague, Nikki and Paul, told the manager, "Maria has not applied for this job." And she came up, she says, "Right, fill that out straight away." And I went, oh, the thought of filling a form out. So I went to this guy called Jack, who was my little saviour. And I says, "Oh, Jack, will you help me fill this out?" So I did. I went for the interview. You had to do a presentation. You had to be grilled. And I hadn't done an interview for years. And I got the job, and I was so surprised. I thought, well, I'll give it a best shot. First Eclo in the post, and I've been there 11 and a half years.
So what does that involve exactly? What's your sort of day-to-day work?
Right. So my day to day is so I see people that are going through different eye conditions. Also, if they can't do the drops, we get them to do drop technique and compliance. So we show them easy ways to do it. Majority of them that are patients that are they need low vision aids, which is for magnifiers and lighting and glare glasses, you name it. Or they need a rehab officer for the visually impaired for mobility and any daily living aids that would help them in everyday life. But also, you're talking to the patient, and while they're talking, you're trying to assess what's going on.
Mm.
So, say for example, they might need social services, they might need OT for doing handrails, physiotherapy. Um, they might be deaf and need deafness resource. So there's a lot of assessments. You're sort of thinking, right, I'm talking to them. Let's see what they need. Then
Mm.
also, I see every single patient who's registered sight impaired or severely sight impaired. So we help them with that, show them equipment that will help them to audiobook machines, one mug kettles, liquid level indicators, CCTVs, special software on phones. So it's like you wonder, you do referrals also if somebody needs employment support,
Mm.
benefits checks, you name
Wow.
it. It's a big, you like the gateway to everything.
I mean, it must be. I can see why you got the job. I mean, you couldn't have a better person in the post, could you, than somebody that actually understands and has been through the
Yeah,
system. And from
yeah.
what you said, when you were first diagnosed, your consultant didn't sound particularly helpful. So people must respond to you really well, I'd imagine. You've got your empathy that you have.
Yeah, that the patients do tell me that. It's like this morning, I've only had a couple of patients, I've had lots of things to do. And one lady, a daughter wanted me to talk to her, about audio books. So we had like a little chat, showed her the machine, and the daughter was going straight out and signing her up for the audio books and the machine. And then I had another daughter bring a mum in because she couldn't do her drops right. So we went through them, and by the time she left, she was happier, you know. And they always say, "Can I come and see you again?" Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, I mean, to have somebody that really understands it, that's fantastic. Well done.
Yeah.
It goes without saying, I think you're tenacious, but would you describe yourself as tenacious? And can you describe some key moments in your life where you've really had to show grit and determination to do something?
Grit and determination. I think the determination is all the challenges I've done, because you think things you're not going to be beaten. Getting up every day and thinking, no, I can do it, you know, especially when you're feeling shattered, fatigued, you name it. You think, no, I'm going to do it because I've got to help these people. Yeah.
Mm.
Determination also is with my husband. I don't want him to be with me, somebody who's depressed all the time, or somebody's very negative. I want to be positive. So every day is a challenge, but you've
Right.
just got to push yourself,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Wise words indeed. And if we talk a little bit, you have touched on it earlier, and I just want to go into a little bit more depth about the whole area of mental health. And I know obviously from the time of diagnosis and so on, it's been a lot of challenges. But what techniques have you used over the years to make sure you keep your mental health in check?
Positivity is one of the main things, because it's like peer support is a good thing. It's talking and not letting everything bottle up inside you. You know, living life to the full, to be honest. Don't let things get you down, even though things are frustrating, and getting out there and just enjoying life and living for today.
Absolutely.
I, you know, it's like, I'll never forget one of the members, Blind Veterans members, and he gave me the biggest kick going, because I was feeling sorry for myself at the beginning. But after speaking to him, who was totally blind, independent, lived life to the full, I goes, what is wrong with me? Why can't I help people? You know, so he gave me the biggest kick to carry on forward and help people.
Fantastic. And then I believe you must be doing the same with your patients as well. So it's all comes full circle, doesn't it?
It
I mean,
does.
the pandemic over the past year has obviously had its, challenged a lot of people mental health, and a lot of things have been restricted or changed and taken away from people. How has it affected you and your quality of life? How have you worked around it?
Uh, it's been not to be honest, it's been normal in a way. It's been hard not seeing friends and family,
Mhm.
but at the beginning. But there's a phone now. There's an outside area now, and through it we did. I was chosen to go on. It was called Waterloo Uncovered. So the first lockdown, and we couldn't go and do an archaeological dig, so we did things virtual, and that Waterloo Uncovered thing kept us motivated, and you knew that there was help out there if you needed it as well. And getting out on the bike, like the first lockdown, we did 1,600 miles. I don't know
Wow.
how we did it. You know, so the first lockdown was amazing because we just got out there, got on the bike, and got out and did. And,
Wow.
and, and going to work motivated me as well.
Mm.
So
You,
that helps your mental health because you've got something to aim for. It's not
yeah.
just you, it's other people. And also phoning people who are by themselves at home did a lot of that as well. And also members of blind veterans as well, giving them a call, seeing how they're doing. Because I think it's hit the elderly and more with the isolation
Mm.
that they're feeling and the loneliness. It must have hit them a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right there. I mean, no, and that again, I think, wow, 1,600 miles. Well, you'll put a lot of people to shame, and you're not the first person I've heard of that got a tandem during lockdown as well to sort of save their mental health.
Oh,
The bike sales have been soaring. Oh, it's been so interesting, Maria. I wondered if I'm going to ask you about a song in a minute, but I want to sort of leave people with a final thought or piece of advice, or what advice would you give to anyone who is thinking about taking up a challenge but hesitant about their ability to do it?
taking up a challenge, you get that motivation, mind over matter, just go and give it your best shot. It'll make you feel 100% better that you've done it or can do it. And if you don't succeed, do it again. Find another challenge that you can do. Don't feel like you're a failure. Just go for it.
I believe you had a little few words of wisdom that you wanted to say as well about sight loss, and also telling people about, sort of keeping in there.
Yeah. So, say for example, I've got a child, could be a teenager. Just because you've got sight loss and you've been registered, do not give up because you can be anything you want to be. You could be a teacher, you could be an MP, you could be a solicitor. The only thing you can't do is legally drive, but you can have a go. But
Fantastic.
on a controlled surface.
Yes, don't try this at home.
Yeah, don't try this at home.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think, yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. That there's only that one thing you can't really do. Well, that's been fantastic. Now, I like to ask people to leave us with a song. For me, I find that music is a great kind of, well, mental health booster. It gives us some great memories. So I wanted to ask you to give us your thoughts on what a favourite song or the moment you might think about that we might go away with in our heads and what it means to you.
Right, am I allowed to do two?
Okay.
Right, I've got two songs. One song is Chasing Cards by Snow Patrol. I chose this one because it gives you a bit of freedom, it gives you thoughts. It, to be honest, it's like flying. It makes you fly, and it just gets you to carry on. It always lets me relax and just listen. But I've got another one which I we had this at the last song of our wedding, and it's always look on the bright side of life. And that always is a true saying. Always look on the bright side of life. Always be positive, never negative.
Totally, totally agree. And I wanted to. I know that there's a special meaning to the Chasing Cars song as well, which will be. I want to leave viewers with with an image as well when we round this conversation up. So if you can remind me what that song makes you think about, Chasing Cars, something particular you did, I believe.
Yeah, the Chasing Cars is the music when I did my parachute jump. and it's just like the freedom
Wow.
of carrying, and flying.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Maria. It's been an absolute pleasure. And here's to your next challenge, whatever it may be, hopefully self-imposed. And I'm wishing you all the success in it. Thank you.
Thank you.